Welcome to the Uncommonly Peculiar podcast, the number one space cultivating truth, love, and transparency with your girl, a voice and an influence. I would like to thank all of my returning listeners and also the new listeners. Today is episode 5. I'm super excited to bring you guys this episode. I do have a guest, and I would like to introduce Coach Do to the show today.
Yes, yes, yes,
How you
yes,
feeling,
yes.
Coach?
What's going on? I'm good. I'm good. I can't complain. Every day we get another 24, it's another day to go get it.
Exactly. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. So, you already know the goal of this podcast is to bridge the gap between authenticity and humanity, right?
Yeah,
So, that's what we're going to be discussing today, talking about authenticity and also some humility, right?
that's
So
right.
needed in the world today.
Most
S-
deaf. Most deaf, man.
Yes. So, I'm going to start off with my first question.
Go with it. I'm
All
ready.
right.
I'm
So, the
ready.
first question is: would you consider yourself an authentic person?
Hold on, let me go get myself out there. Well, I can tell you this. I pride myself on being 100 plus 10. And it's hard every day you get up and you try to stay consistent
Yeah.
inside that authenticity, right? And because you don't want to be viewed as a imposter or someone that I can't trust or rely on, right? So that consistency keeps me pushing every day with just that goal. That's the bar, just saying that in everything I do, I can't show favoritism. In everything I do, I gotta be this
Mm.
guy. I gotta be this guy every day. And putting on that superhero cape or that uniform every day of saying that this is who I am, no matter what you go through, like this is who I am. This is my truth. This is who I am. It's hard, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people try their best to stay consistent, and there's breaking points, and you know what I mean.
Yes.
Even like biblically, even in the Bible, Jesus got weary, right?
Come on.
And a lot of people didn't understand that. You're not supposed to stress. There are a time and place to where you get to a point to where you question your own values and morals. Like,
Yeah.
is this what I'm doing it for? But you have to have something that motivates you, right? We
Yes.
know motivation. I tell kids motivation. I tell people motivation is inside yourself. Greatness is inside yourself. You have to find it and push it, right? And tap into that. So every day I have to tap into it. I get up in the morning. I listen to my spiritual voices and drive and listen
Mhm.
to, what I mean, my music, my songs, and
Yes.
it gives me strength to keep on every day, no
Yeah.
matter what I go through.
That's really good. You said something that really stuck out to me was about how, sometimes you have to put on, like I think you said a cape,
Yeah,
your cape,
superhero.
right? And in that putting on that cape, sometimes though it's those moments where you like you said, you doubt yourself, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes the subconscious mind, you have all of these just automatic thoughts or things that are coming up in your mind from the past and stuff like that that try to deter you
right.
from, whatever your goal is for that day and being able to be authentic with yourself in that moment. So, how do you get to, the point where you're able to kind of bypass, right? Like the the triggers of trying to make you be inauthentic, right?
Right.
Trying to get you to kind of maybe suppress some things, right?
Hmm.
Like, yeah, we're strong, but we do stress, like you
Right.
said, right? So I know, like, how do you navigate that? Like being able to work through those moments when you're tempted to kind of maybe not say something, or do
Right.
you say something in other ways, or how do you deal with that?
Me understanding where I came from and what
Mm.
I came from,
Mhm.
the things that I was taught that I thought was normal, and looking back on that lifetime, that lifestyle,
Mhm.
keeps me reminded of why I'm here,
That's
right?
good.
So the things that I've been through,
Mhm.
it some people don't take pain as a lesson, and they take
Yeah.
it as regret. And
Ooh.
they often point the finger instead of embracing like what caused and what built you are into the person you are today, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of for me. I constantly I knew where I was,
That's good.
and I know where I am, and
Yep.
I'm far better where I'm at than
Yeah.
where I was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that keeps me.
I can relate to that so
Yeah.
much. It's so amazing too, because I tell people like when you can talk to a variety of different people, but when you talk about like growth,
Right.
there will always be a point of reference.
Right.
And if you can't give me a point of reference, then I'm not sure you've actually grew or worked
Right.
through what you're conveying, right?
Right.
Because that's true for me too.
Right.
Like anytime I'm having any setbacks, like just within my thoughts or something, and I'm like, I have a decision to make whether I'm going to show up as being authentic, be my true self, or if I'm going to shrink, right?
Right.
I
Right.
remember where I came from, right?
Right.
Like, I have the ability now to express how I feel, what's going on with me without feeling like, worried about how people going to perceive me, right? I'm strong enough now, because at
Right.
first I used to be a people pleaser,
Right.
right? You know what I mean? And that didn't get me nowhere. Nowhere. So
That's
it's
right.
it's amazing how much like authenticity really
Yeah.
just it makes you stronger. It makes you really connect with other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And you sympathize more,
Yes.
and that part alone, just saying that you see others' pain, right?
Oh,
And you're
yes.
able to relate because of the pain. That pain is pain teaches you love, right? Pain
Oh,
teaches
that's
you,
so good.
it teaches you the opposite of sometimes what your mind tells you.
Right.
And for me, it's like everything that like I said, I've been through, and everything that I can't speak on other, but I know what I've been through and what
Yeah.
grew me into the person, and what the promises I made with my higher power, and telling and saying that I would give back. I would put good energy back, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Everything that Adam in the beginning, not to go there, but in the
Let's
beginning,
talk about
Adam
it.
did something in the garden that he wasn't supposed to do, right?
Okay.
And it was disobedience, right? And a lot of people don't want to, don't understand that part of saying, well, he blaming the woman and this one that, right? But God gave him the commandment, right? I could give you
Clock
a
it.
commandment, right? And don't tell this person, but I'm gonna hold you responsible because I know I told you.
Yes.
So when I deal with my own child and I tell you something, this is what the rule is for you. I can't tell you what that kid rule gonna be, but this is your rule.
That's so
So
good.
now either you follow this rule. You don't tell me later that it was because of my friend. He didn't know what you said then. But you knew what I said. I
Yes.
don't care nothing about what he didn't know, right? So that accountability, that understanding, and saying that all the way back then that it was a blame game. We understand that it was a blame game. It was no accountability. Today,
Mhm.
we live life like that with no accountability,
Yeah, oh yeah, for
right?
sure.
We live it like that,
Oh
and
yeah.
and I think for for what I've witnessed with you and some other powerful people that I look at as prophetic and profound people that speak, positive and the energy that you put out there and push out there,
Mhm.
it's for someone, right?
Yes.
It's for more than one person, right? But
Yes.
we try to save at least one.
Yes.
So with that, I think we are in a peculiar situation to be
Mhm.
on a platform or be on platforms to speak when we didn't have a voice before,
Ooh,
right? For a lot of
thank
years,
you,
we didn't have a
Jesus.
voice and didn't have a platform to deliver what we wanted to say. Or people couldn't hear us because where we was at, and we was just this minute person in a big city, and then
Mhm.
saying, okay, how do I get everybody to hear me? So we that's a pro and a con of social media,
Mhm.
and we know some people spend more time than they should.
Mhm.
But when it's positive, I could talk all day about something edifying.
Yeah.
People could gossip all day about nothing.
Oh, mm-mm.
And in the room, nobody grew, right?
Mhm.
So, but I think like for for what we are doing, what you do in your life and what I do in mine, that the universe connected us for a reason.
Yes.
And I think just the character of
Yeah.
knowing where you come from
Mhm.
and where you are now, it's I know for me, people. Why you smile so much,
Mhm.
man? If you know where I came from, man,
Mhm.
you'll be smiling every day like this. I'm free is freedom, man. You
Yeah.
understanding what freedom is,
Yeah.
right? Like there's rules systematically everywhere, but understanding what real freedom is, and that's that peace, right, within ourselves and our mind. Like I'm free. You know what I mean?
That peace in your mind. Yeah, but you got me over here like tearing up. Yeah, because you know why? It's the accountability piece. And a lot of people don't hold themselves accountable.
Yeah,
When you start to hold yourself accountable, and that's why I'm really honed in on this authenticity
right,
because that comes with integrity, that comes with holding yourself accountable. When you begin to hold yourself accountable, it shines a light on what is deserving,
right.
what is worthy, and what, is deserving, let's just say, of your time and your energy,
Yes,
you know what I mean? And you begin to see things for what they are,
yes,
right?
yes.
But that acceptance of, okay, if there is a change that needs to be made, it's going to be me who makes that
Yeah.
change, right? Looking yourself in the mirror and liking what you see,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
beginning to, treat people the way you want to be treated.
Mhm.
Like that energy
Yeah.
alone,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Yes.
Like it sets you apart
Right.
because of the intentions behind a lot of things that people put out,
Right.
right? And a lot of things that they do, the malicious, manipulative things that people do, they want to be a certain way because they want something from someone else,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yeah.
but God sees everything.
Right.
Who are you when no one's
Right.
looking, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's just one of those things. It's like you can't fake realness.
Right. You
You
can't.
can't.
You
You
can't.
can't fake it because it costs you
Yeah.
something,
Yes.
right, to become that person.
Uh-huh.
And that is
Uh-huh.
what I definitely that resonate with me so much to where I got teary-eyed
Yeah.
because it cost me something
Yeah.
to be the person that I am today. It cost me something. And I'm not talking about like,
My man.
money.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not talking about that. I had to die inside. I had
Yeah.
to take accountability, right? I had to take
Yes.
accountability. I
Yes.
had to learn the lessons
Mm.
that I needed to learn.
That's right.
And that's why we're here today
Yes.
to get people to understand, learn the lessons that you need to learn because that will help you with community.
Yeah.
That will help you with being able to be authentic in
Right.
the end.
Right. And help you with communication.
Oh yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Which
For
which
sure.
blocks us from so much stuff,
Oh,
man, because we tend to put up walls and said, "I don't wanna talk to them. I don't mess with them people. I don't do this, and
right.
I don't," and you closing doors every time you say, I
Oh,
don't,"
that's so good.
and you asking God to say, "Please help, please help, please help,"
Oh,
but you keep saying, "I don't," and everybody that could be a potential help for you, a potential angel in your life, you shut the door on them because you say, "I don't mess with them." People tell me, "Man, you talk to everybody, anybody, you talk too much." Why is it bothering you? Because it don't bother me,
hmm.
right? If I choose to talk to that old lady, she talk a lot. I embraces that wisdom. The
Yeah, that's
problem
good.
is people reject wise counseling, right?
Mhm.
And and not and they don't seek the right counseling most of the
Mhm.
time. They
Mhm.
look for the yes counseling, the person that's going to say yes to
Yes.
them and yes to all
Yes.
their stories and answers, and they feel good because they got somebody right there on their coattail being a groupie, right? But
Mhm.
to be a leader and an everyday leader, right?
Mhm.
That's back to where we started at.
Mhm.
Just saying that authentic every day being authentic.
Mhm.
That leader in you exists already, right? And
Mhm.
before you was in your mother's womb, I predestined you. So that leader exists. Now,
Mhm.
what you do with that,
Mhm.
it gonna define your character and what people
Yes.
say about you,
Yes.
right? A
Mhm.
great reputation is chosen over riches. So I
Mm.
prefer the reputation. I could have been rich
Mhm.
a long time ago if I choose to step on others to get there. If
Exactly.
I
Come
choose to
on.
sacrifice my own to get there, right?
Mhm.
But that's where we're saying just being consistent. It comes with a price, like you said. The price you had to pay a price, not a
Mhm.
financial price.
Yeah.
I didn't have to pay a financial price,
Mhm.
right? I got outside of my promise that I had made, right?
Mhm.
And I made a promise to my higher power that I never choose a lifestyle again, right?
Right.
And I got vulnerable and weak in a time in my life to where I kind of crossed that line a little bit,
Mhm.
right? Straddled that fence, and it cost and in my heart, it cost me my son's life, right?
Mm.
So when that happened, it took so much of the good out of me at that time,
Yeah.
right? Because the pain and the
Pain.
hate, I revisit places that I had then freed myself from,
Oh, that's so good.
right? And it was hard. It was real hard. I had people calling me and, man, you did this for me, man. No, that's not where I'm at. I just need time. God bless my dad. So he came and he was pushing. I just need time, and everybody was coming at me in different angles. I need time. I need time to process me, not the situation. I'm dealing with what's inside me, and I've
That's
been holding this
good.
thing in a cage for so long, and now it's tested to the maximum limit to where
Ooh.
you're talking about you have to. Paul said he died to the flesh daily, right?
Mhm.
You're talking about in a moment of time that you have to rationalize inside all that commotion and confusion and what's going on in your head. If I would have did this, I could have regret. So you deal with all these emotions, mixed feelings, and you try to say, what I had to leave a state, come out of a state within a month's time, and everybody thought I was crazy. You got a
Mm.
business, you got this going, you're gonna walk away. If it was about the financial side, I would have stayed, but it was about, again, that peace.
Mhm.
I had to find that peace again because I had people counting on me. And it wasn't
Mm.
people in my household. It was kids that I had inspired, kids that I had
That's
been a
so
leader
good.
to, kids that had looked up to me, right? And it was hard. It was hard in that process. But leaving, it said people, places, and things. You gotta change some things. And that's what I stood on, right? Having the courage to change the things I can.
Yeah.
And I stood on that and like, you know what? I don't care about the money. I got to go,
Mhm.
right? Because it's a pain inside me that has to heal.
Mhm.
And then it got full circle. It came back to Job. Job lost his kids, he lost his family.
Mhm.
And the enemy did everything he could to get him to turn,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what kept me strong. That word that I had then established in my heart, right? And bound around my neck,
Mhm.
it spoke back to me like, you lost one son, brought me back here, and now I have thousands of sons. Because
Wow.
every kid, he gave me more than I can handle, to
Wow.
where you put me in a position to love kids,
Yeah.
right? And I'd have been tested, even inside that, people knowing what I represent and I stand for, that has been tested.
Yeah.
But it's the enemy because you're doing too much, right? It's no different than, like I said, the platforms we stand on. It's gonna be trials and tribulations. Just because we following them don't make it easier, right?
Yeah. That's so good though, because I think you laid out a clear, like it really a revelation and a roadmap to understand that when you decide to walk the narrow path, right, you're actually you're leaving something behind,
Yeah,
right? And like you said, it's that those emotions that are tied to the past from the lessons that you've learned, right? That's tied to the pain, right? But
right.
then instead of, the regret, instead of that, you learn a lesson to
Yeah,
pull you forward, to pull you
yeah.
out of it. And a lot of times, the enemy tries to get us to go back to
Mhm.
return to those emotions because if he gets us to operate in those emotions,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is energy and motion, then we're on his playing field.
Yeah.
Now we're on the road to destruction,
Mhm.
right? It's not no longer the narrow path, but it reminds me of Saul's wife where God told her like not to look
Look
back, right?
right.
And she turned into that
Right.
pillar of salt,
Right.
right? And so I think also, as you grow, a lot of people need to be reminded that sometimes when you separate, God separates you from people, right? He's
Right.
not separating you from those people because, he doesn't like them or
Right.
he thinks that they're bad people. He's
Mm.
separating you from those people so that you can heal in the inside
Right.
and so that you can understand what triggers you
Right.
when you're
Absolutely.
around
Yes.
those people
Yes.
because that energy
Right.
is there. They have
Right.
not chosen
Right.
to deal with that energy, which is spirits,
Right.
if we're clear.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Right. And so, but when you separate yourself from that,
Right.
and you open up your heart to God and it's all
Mhm.
love, right? So you're able to go around people with some of those spirits, but
Yeah.
it can't attach itself
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah.
not in agreement
Right.
with it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You can recognize it just like
Right.
Jesus did. He said, "Get thee behind me, Satan."
Right.
He
Right.
recognized the enemy. So when
Absolutely.
you separate and you isolate, it's getting you to a point where you can recognize. You
Yeah.
have that discernment.
Mhm.
So we have to be aware of that because a lot of times people we're connected to, family, they will always try to make you feel like, oh, they use this all the time. You think you better.
Right.
You think you
Right.
know everything.
Right.
And
Oh,
those are
that's the one.
that's the one. Those are just tactics, right, of what the enemy does,
Right.
because that's exactly what
Right.
he did. And this comes
Right.
full circle. What he did in the garden, right,
Right.
with Adam, right? He
Right.
just manipulated the word,
Right.
right?
That's
That
it.
caused Eve. Oh, God didn't say that.
Yeah.
Right.
Did
So
he really?
did he really? You know what I mean? So that's what the enemy tries to do with
Yeah.
those family members
Yeah.
and those people from your
That's
past.
right.
He just tries to manipulate you because as
Mhm.
soon as he can get you to come in agreement,
Oh yeah.
it's over.
It's over with. He done got
He got
he
you.
got he done got in your head. The seed was planted
The
before you had
seed.
you
That's
you
it.
you didn't gave him. You said something that too that was good. Knowing yourself, right? You said
Mhm.
it can't attach yourself to you
Yes.
to you,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Because you got this armor on. And
Mhm.
people talk about the armor of God all the time, right?
Yes,
Helmet
real.
of salvation, blessed, pray the right.
Yeah.
We understand that only when you find that armor
Mhm.
is because you didn't soul search yourself and understand your weaknesses.
Oh, come on.
And
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
aware of your weaknesses. So you're gonna always look over your shoulder because you know you're weak over there. You know
Come on.
your awareness has went up, right?
Yeah.
Only because you know yourself.
Mhm.
So it, like you said, around people, you know to separate yourself
Mhm.
because I know you're gonna cause me to fall. It's
Yeah.
not about you, it's about me. I know where I'm weak at. And
Mhm.
you're a kryptonite to me. So
Yeah.
I have to keep you at a distance
Mhm.
for your own good,
Mm.
right? You're gonna cost me. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And you have people like that.
Yeah.
People come around you, man, and they'll cost you because of their motives, their pureness, their
Mhm.
motives, right?
Mhm.
And what they really represent around you. A lot of
Mhm.
athletes go through it. A lot of famous people
Yeah.
go through it. People
Yeah.
around them just to get ahead, right?
Mhm.
I have some friends that's well off that I have met over my lifetime of them just encountering me. I didn't know they was well off before we met, but later
Mhm.
found out they was well off,
Mhm.
right? And in a recent instance, we was somewhere and I had some friends with us and I saw a friend I hadn't saw in a while. I used to work for his company when it was smaller, and now it's bigger.
Mhm.
And he got all kind of sports car, Lamborghinis, this and that. So we somewhere, and he sees it, he gets excited, and everybody looking like, "Well, who is he?" Because we know who is he, but who is he? Because he's getting excited over him. We know he rich, so he must be rich too. No, I'm rich in spirit.
Come
So
on.
he rich in financials, you know what I mean? But he has to have a status amongst y'all because that's what edifies him.
Mhm.
You don't know me because that is not what edified me, right? I don't need to be known. I'm known for doing some greater things to me, and that's pouring into kids, right?
That's so good.
But it was crazy because someone was with me and it was all, you know, I guess fascinated and,
Fascinated, yeah.
and man, I could get your number. And I look like
Oh
you
gosh.
sounding like a groupie. Like,
Yeah, the groupies.
you a man. Like, don't do that. What you doing? Like, I could have, you just asked me for the number. I could give you his number. But I know, you know what I mean? What you want is number. Like, what's the plan? Right?
Right.
So you have those people, man, with that energy, and you have to protect that energy at all costs. That
Mhm.
peace is basically what we're speaking on energy. But
Mhm.
You have to protect it. And that
Yeah.
pruning process that he
Ooh.
brings us through, it's gonna take that bad and it's gonna burn and release that bad away from you. It's on you to pick that bad back up and put
Mhm.
on you after he done freed you from it.
Yeah.
Right. So like I said, I have people that I had to be freed from. And I'm thankful that I'm free. And I don't lose a night of sleep thinking about you. Like people be thinking like, oh man, he probably still have it on. No, I forgot about you when I left. You got to
Mhm.
call and remind me. I tell people that all the
You
time.
got to
Like
call and remind me. That's good. You know what? That I really like you talking about like the pruning process because I don't think, a lot of people talk about like the depth of pain that comes with the pruning
yeah,
process, like the grief as well. Because a lot of times when you're being pruned, you're being separated from people, places, and things that meant a lot to you,
yeah,
right? But when you ultimately choose to serve God and you choose to walk on the narrow path of your higher self and for the higher good of others, it really puts you in a place to really have to sacrifice.
yeah,
Basically you
yeah,
sacrifice, and it is a sacrifice. So when you hear people talking about sacrifices like from a dark side as
yeah.
well, right? I always talk about this like duality, right? it's
Right,
it's a thing, like
right,
it's you sacrifice for good, you
right,
sacrifice for evil,
right,
right? People sacrifice for two different things, but for the sake of this and for us, we're talking
right,
about for good.
right,
Let's be
right,
clear.
right, right.
We're talking about for clear, just to bring context. But I say all of that to say that, it's just very important that you realize, like once you've been separated and you go through that pruning process, that you went through that for a
Right,
reason. You
right,
know what I mean? You
right,
went through that for a reason. A lot of people that's on the other side may not understand that because they tend to kind of feel as if, oh, you think you're
right,
superior. You know
right,
what I mean?
right.
But when you are operating in the spirit of God,
Right.
I mean, it is superior.
Right.
God is superior.
Right.
It is what it
You walking
is.
in your natural inheritance.
Your inheritance, come on.
Yeah.
And then also, if you are also walking in that same spirit, right,
Mhm.
in your godness, God sense, then you would understand. You wouldn't feel intimidated about
Right.
it, right?
Right. Right.
You wouldn't be threatened,
Right.
right? Because there is no fear over
Right.
here.
Right.
The
And
perfect love casts out
yeah.
fear. Come on.
Yes, that's right. Hey, and they said the people of the world won't understand the things of the spirit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like foolishness to them. So to them, they see us walking in that stature, and they're only intimidated because they don't understand. Right?
Yeah.
We perish for a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And because they don't know, right? You could tell a person
Mhm.
you're ignorant, and because of the way you said it to them, they took it as a bad word,
Yeah.
right? I could cuss you out, and you don't take it the same as me saying you ignorant of something,
Yeah.
right? Meaning you just don't know something, and you should want to know something,
Yeah, for
just a
sure.
little bit of something. If it's not a
Yeah.
lot, a whole lot of something, right?
Come on.
But I think because of pride,
Mhm.
because of egos,
Ooh, that ego is huge.
as
The
people
ego is
reject you.
huge. The ego is so huge. And, it's one of those things like even with me, I have to question myself, because everybody has it, right? You definitely have to go through that dying of self, dying of the ego, right? But I think when you are highly intuitive and self-aware, you can kind of reflect on that
Right.
ego,
Mhm.
daily
Yeah,
to
you
see
gotta check it.
why am I doing this? What is my intention? And is it selfish? Is it
Yeah.
coming from a narcissistic,
Right,
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 approach?
right,
Is it all about me?
right,
Right? Is it
right.
going to harm? Like you have to question your
Mhm.
motives. You actually have to question your motives. So I'm going to move on to some more questioning. So we kind of already talked about question number 2 already. How has your authenticity been challenged? We
Oh.
talked about that pretty much already. But I'm going to say this, and we kind of touched on this too, but we can go more in depth. How does your authenticity connect to your relationship with God?
Well, I could tell you this. That's that's a big part of my authenticity, man, because
Mhm.
like I said, I made a promise,
Yeah.
and your word has to mean something, right?
Mhm.
People went crazy over this movie years ago in the 80s when it was released, Scarface. And
Oh,
and
Scarface?
yeah,
Okay.
and it was like he said all he had was his balls and his word, right?
Okay.
And they took that as saying, I'm gonna be more gangster. I'm gonna be more,
Yeah, for sure.
right? And as
Mhm.
in another metaphor of it, that the word part, your word has to mean something, right?
Mhm.
And that's how my authenticity with God, because of his word, right?
Oh, that's a good connection.
And
Yeah.
his either I believe his word
Mhm.
or I don't.
Mhm.
Right? There's no in between. Well, I believe this part. I don't. This is a little far fetched. No, because of my faith.
Mhm.
Man, we know it's a faith to faith walk, right?
Mhm.
With everyone.
Mhm.
Everybody is not at the same faith level.
Mhm.
And everybody have not seen the wonders of God operate in their life to increase that faith
Yeah.
because they have blocked themselves to see that wonder, right? And see
Mm.
how much he really could do for you and deliver
Mhm.
you from. So because of what he's physically and spiritually and emotionally delivered me from, that I know where the credit goes. I've never been to a psychiatrist or whatever you want to say to talk to and counseling and none of these things, right? But because of my faith and I know he's real,
Mhm.
it makes me have to be real because I'm an
Yeah.
image of him. So if I'm in his likeness, in his image, and I believe that, then I have to carry myself at the hardest time. I got to tap into that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I got to walk that walk. I got to embrace it, right? I tell people, go through embrace the journey, embrace the
Mhm.
journey, love the journey, right? No matter what you're going through, all those obstacles in your life, embrace the journey. You look back on the journey, when you get to your destination, you're gonna realize how you got to where you are. No
Mhm.
matter if that's in a good place or a bad place,
Mhm.
you gonna know why you are where you at because of everything you went through, right?
Mhm.
It can make you or break you. So
Mhm.
for me, that authenticity that connects me with God and keep me being the same consistent person because he's consistent,
Yes,
right?
he
And
is.
he said he will not, he won't fail you, right? But in that consistent, you have to be consistent. Like
Mhm.
you expecting him to be consistent and you ain't being consistent and you wondering why it ain't working for you. You got to go back and again check yourself. I
Mhm.
got to go pull my own coattails sometime. You
Mhm.
know, people think you crazy because you talk to you. No, sometimes you got to talk to yourself.
Yeah.
You got to see what yourself talking about sometimes.
Oh, that's so good. See what yourself talking about sometimes. No, for real. No, that's good because when you like I came across this video on social media and it was this young lady and she was talking about her challenge with God and how, she has certain desires, right? But she's a powerful woman, right? But you can tell that her walk is being challenged,
Right.
right? And I told her, I think the issue here is that you're separating yourself from God. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Because when we talk about authenticity and we talk about love and we're talking about this relationship with God, God said he made us in his image.
Right.
And he said that he's within us.
Right.
So therefore, this is a joint partnership. Now, are you God? No.
Right.
Okay. You
Right.
didn't create yourself.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
that's clear.
Right.
You're not God,
Right.
but you are a God and a goddess because you're
Right.
a child of God,
That's right.
right? And so therefore, you have to operate from a place of, like you said, taking
Yeah.
accountability for the choices that
Yeah.
you're making
Right.
because God will not condemn you, but he
Mm.
will convict you.
Yes.
He will
Yes.
convict you. And sometimes some of us, we need more of a harder conviction
Yes.
than others,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But it's important that if we pay attention to, our bodies and pay attention to what's happening on the inside of us and be
Yeah.
authentic about that,
Yes.
then it's kind of easier to identify what God is saying
Yeah.
and where he's trying to lead you in that moment. But if you can't be honest about it, I remember this time with one of my friends and I was in a relationship at the time and I was going through it and she came up to me and she was like, "I don't like this. This is not good." She was like, "I don't like how he treating you. This is
Right.
not good."
Right.
And I had told her, I said, "You know what? I agree, but I'm going through something right now."
Right.
Like, you see what I'm saying?
It's easier said than done. I
But
can tell you
but the
that, man.
key here
Yeah.
in what I'm trying to say is
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, you're good. Authenticity. You cannot be in denial.
No.
You gotta be honest about
Yeah.
even if you choosing to be with somebody that's dogging you out. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't condone it, and I
Right.
wouldn't tell you to do
Right.
that, right?
Right.
But what I'm saying is everybody goes through different challenges and has different
Right.
journeys. But the key into change
Yeah.
is identify.
Yeah. That's it.
You gotta
That's it.
acknowledge where you are.
That's
If you don't acknowledge where you are,
Yeah.
then yeah, I can see why you'll be letting somebody
Right.
dog you out for
Right.
years and years, maybe your
Right.
whole even life,
Right.
because you don't even think it's a problem.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. And see, you said identify, right?
Uh-huh.
And that word alone, when you talk about relationships
Mhm.
and what you went through, and
Mhm.
people don't understand. Yeah, it's no different from coaching football, right?
Oh, wow.
The parents in the stands, of course, you see there's a problem on the field. We all see it,
Mhm.
right? We know it's a problem. That you speaking the obvious.
Mhm.
What's the solution, right?
Mhm.
I had an instructor that like I said, shout out Richard P. Um, I was going through a situation. He was over collision repair, and we used to come to him, but he was a military guy, right? And it's, hey, man, Mr. P, I got a problem. You got a what? I need a solution. Say, yeah, we know it's a problem. You don't come stating the obvious. Tell me you need a solution, and I can help you with that
That's good.
because you know already identified it's a problem,
Mhm.
right? So just the identifying part, just what you said, of saying it when you first meet a person in a relationship and you find that there's some kind of spark, chemistry, some things that
Mhm.
got you guys interested in each other and interested in each other. So at that moment, you haven't identified the bad
That's good.
or the good. You don't know.
Yeah.
You just right
Yeah.
now there's just some kind of spark that ignited and saying that okay, we see each other. Right? I
Mhm.
see you, you see me. Hey, I like what I see, you like what you
Mhm.
see. And then you start to try to see where that thing go, right?
Mhm.
And in the beginning is all pieces and cream because there's no real attachments. There's no bills together. You know what I mean? There's
Mhm.
there's no we're married. There's no real relate. There's no goals at that moment because you
Mhm.
still feeling each other out.
Mhm.
And as time come, you have those great moments and the good times in the beginning because there was really no pressure on your relationship because that relationship had just started. You in
Mhm.
your own home, he in his own home, whatever the case may be, right?
Mhm.
Then when it comes to the point that we done got in our home together and blah, 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 and then we start seeing what was behind the
The
doors,
closed
the
doors.
closed doors, like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Now I
Yeah.
see you all day, every day. So now
Mhm.
if either you was real, that
Mhm.
authentic, that authenticity that we talking about, either that was who you were or you was putting on a facade the whole time. Now
Mhm.
you done took off your costume. Who are you after you're Superman? Who are you after you're Spider-Man? Who are you after when you take off, stop being a superhero, who are you? Right?
Mhm.
And then you find out, oh, I didn't know. And okay, but my now feelings are attached, right? Emotions
Yeah.
are attached.
Yeah, and you're
So it's
touching
not just
wounds
so
that you didn't know
easy to
was
break
there.
away,
Uh-huh.
right? It's no
Uh-huh.
different than living in darkness and living in light or living in evil, living in good. When I was living in that lifestyle, that I wasn't ready to break away. No
Mhm.
matter what you told me the consequence was. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? I took the risk. I took and I knew it was gonna be a flip side to it. But
Mhm.
I loved in the moment. I was in love with what I did, and
Mhm.
at that time, you in the moment you was in love, even though it was a painful
Right.
process. It was like, hey man, I love what I do. Me being
Mhm.
arrested, me going to it was. I knew it hurt, but I loved it. The flesh loved what it loves. Right
Mhm.
now, the spirit was weak
Mhm.
at the time. Your spirit at the time was weak because your flesh wanted what it wanted, and it was the love, the connection that I found, and I keep trying to find the good that I saw once before, but the whole while it wasn't good. It was a facade,
Mhm.
right? And everything that glitters isn't gold, they say,
Right.
right? God say everything that's good isn't sufficient, and everything that's sufficient ain't good for you, right? It may feel good in a moment, but I got to identify the realness in that. I got to see the truth in that.
Mhm.
When I did see it, when you
Mhm.
did see it, you finally saw it and say enough is enough.
Mhm.
Now I got to stand up on faith and believe like I'm moving on.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt. it's supposed
It's
to hurt.
supposed to. Yeah. It's
I
supposed to. When you
mean,
detach him from something,
yeah,
it's
it's
supposed to.
supposed to hurt.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and
That's real.
and people from the outside always see it. Like you gonna see it because you're on the sideline.
Right.
But I'm in it.
Yeah.
So I gotta deal with it. You can speak and say what I should do,
Mm-hmm.
but right now, you ain't the one going through it.
Yeah. That's key though, because I think also, in that situation, you have to identify, like, okay, identify that there is a problem,
Yeah.
right? I'm not in denial that there's a
Right.
problem, right? There is a problem,
Right.
right? But when you decide to say, okay, I want to start looking at this problem, right?
Right.
Before you get to a solution,
Yeah.
that's where that authenticity piece also is there, because it's like, okay, is this problem good for you?
Right.
Is this problem bad for you?
Right.
But you have to be able to identify
Yeah.
self. You have
Mhm.
to be able to identify your own identity.
Yeah.
If you don't know who you are, then you could easily mistake a problem for
Right.
something
Right.
that is pleasurable and more, I would say, stronger than what
Yeah.
God has for you, right?
Mhm.
And so then when you get to that point, it's like, no, this is bad. Okay. So now what is the solution, right?
Right.
You can have a solution, but now after you get the solution, I need you to implement it.
Yeah.
Right. Now you
Yeah.
got to actually walk away.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you got to actually walk away.
Yeah.
And then after you walk away, you're going to get tempted to go back.
Right. Right.
Now, are you going to stand on business?
Right.
Now you gotta implement, then you got to stand on business.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when
Yeah.
you stand on business, now you got to deal with what? Isolation.
Isolation.
Now
Yeah.
you got to deal with being alone,
Right.
right?
Can't handle it.
Can you get to the place where you move from being alone and feeling like you don't have nobody, being lonely,
Right.
to solitude, right?
Right.
Because solitude is a good space, right?
Mhm.
That's when you're enjoying your company, you're
Yeah.
enjoying yourself,
Yeah.
you get to know God, okay?
Mhm.
You get to work out what your purpose is,
Right.
what the master plan is. So now you've moved to a different road. Now you're on a different journey.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. Like, it's different journeys out here. Okay. The Bible says that there's two roads: the road to destruction, which is
Wow.
wide, right? And the road to life, which is narrow, and
Right.
only a few be that find it.
Yeah.
So in this, we have to just be cognizant, but also be just aware that everybody is not on the same road.
Right.
Right. And a
Right.
lot of times we don't want to talk about that because it literally separates us.
Right.
It separates us from the people that we are connected to, right? Because of what? Energy,
Energy,
because of
yeah.
emotions,
Yeah.
because of this human body that
Right.
we're in. We are connected, but
Mhm.
we are so different
Right.
because of our experiences. And you got to get to a point where you just able to call a thing a thing. And I think that's a big challenge for people.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's the reason why, we have these discussions here on the Uncommonly Peculiar podcast, because
Talk
when
to
you
it. Talk
are
to it.
separated, okay, you're peculiar,
Right.
and you're gonna be looked at like
Yeah.
you uncommon.
Yeah.
Something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. You're gonna be the outcast. People call it what? The black sheep.
Yeah.
They call
Yeah.
it the black sheep. So let's switch gears and talk a little bit about humanity, humility, right?
Right.
Okay, so in that being, let's say, the black sheep, right?
Right.
In that being, that oddball, right? Or what you used to hear and back in the day, when you choose to be, you a bookworm, when you choose to get
Right. You're a
education,
nerd.
or you a nerd, or you a square, and people point the finger at you,
Yeah.
laugh at you, you get bullied,
Uh-huh.
criticized, talked about, all these different things, right?
Right.
Because of your choice to
Right.
do something that is like not known, right? Uncommon,
Right.
right? So how do you still remain with that humility and be connected to your humanity in those moments?
Because like you said earlier in the segment, man, I'm a person that really don't care what people think of me.
Yeah.
Like they said they have another saying, say what you eat don't make me
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
get on the stool, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. I don't. I used to, like you say, I used to,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, and they used to control me because I was more
Mhm.
worried about what people think
Yeah.
instead of what God thinks, right?
Yes.
So I got out of the people pleasing business, right?
Mhm.
People get offended now, right? That people that have met me, have come around me coaching and come to my program, I tell them, and they take it the wrong way, but I don't mean it in that essence. Or when I tell them, I don't care about adult feelings. It's all about the kids.
Hmm.
Because if I have to please each and every one of you adults, I'm going to lose sight of what I need to do for the kids. and
That's
it's
so
not gonna be
good. The
about the
mission,
kids.
the
Yeah,
mission.
it's the mission, man.
It's the mission.
He's
It's so that's so good that you said that separation of understanding like what your mission and your purpose is in any given moment, like not just in your personal life, but because we all have different careers, have different
right,
jobs, we're in different, opportunities, right?
right,
You have to be aware of what is my mission in this moment, what is my intention, where is my focus, because that's how the enemy tries to sneak in, right? And tries to deter you and lose focus or whatever. But it's funny because me too, like even with, being a clinician, sometimes, you think everybody's on the same page in terms
right,
of the mission. It's the people that we're trying to serve.
right.
But some people is just serving how much money they
Yeah,
can make. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's
yeah.
not about really the people. It's
Right,
about a paycheck,
right,
right? It's about how I can be
right,
perceived and how I can look like and especially don't get into titles.
right.
Oh my goodness. They think because you this level and they this level, they better than you.
Right,
Right.
right.
But the Bible says, don't touch not my
None
anointing
to my
and do
prophet,
my
no.
prophets no harm. It's
That's
just
right.
amazing how God will show up and humble people real
Oh,
quick.
real fast.
Mm.
He gonna fight your battle. That
Amen.
that was something I'm gonna tell you, and I won't say the exact scripture,
Uh-huh.
but I was going through something, and my spirit led me to something, and when I read it, it scared me.
Oh, wow. What
It
scripture
scared
is
me
that?
because it was saying what it would do to the people that come against me.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my heart was saddened because I didn't want that to happen,
Right, right, right.
right? And when I said earlier, I have witnessed
Mhm,
the power and I have witnessed
mhm.
in systems that man has the authority to control and run.
Yeah.
And I've witnessed the power of God change that. He said, "A king heart is in his hand, he turn it whichever way he please," right?
Mhm.
And I've watched people that fabricated, lied, false statements, and did some things, all was held accountable
Mm.
to little old me, like
Wow.
to where the humbling side came
Yeah.
on them.
Mhm.
And I've watched people in high places lose their jobs,
Yeah.
not directly of me, because you
Right,
did what you did to me.
right.
But the effect of it was
Mhm.
somebody else was fighting that battle for me.
Yeah,
And when he showed up, he showed out.
yeah.
And he took your positions from you
Mhm,
because you were supposed to govern it
mhm.
without prejudice, right? You
Yeah.
in truth, you swear an oath, or you whatever office you take, you're supposed to take it because of the passion you have for the people, or
Yes.
for people, or for
Mhm,
the reason you're doing it, because you have passion for it.
mhm,
And if you have passion for it, you're most likely gonna be successful with it and stay consistent, right?
mhm.
That commitment and consistency I always speak about. But I watched that, man, happen, and it scared me for people. I've watched people that was my enemies lose their lives, and it wasn't because of me, because not me, I ain't take their lives,
Right.
but it was God fighting my battles, moving obstacles out of my way,
Mhm,
and I feared for others,
mhm.
right? And that part of why I'm going there, because you said, "Touch not my prophet and do my touch not my anointing and do my prophets no harm."
Yeah.
And it is so true to that saying, to where people don't realize what you gonna go through in life.
Yeah.
I'm watching you get sick. I'm watching you get,
So
but
sad.
and you spoke against me, and like that's not what I wanted for you.
Yeah.
And because God knows our hearts, right?
Yeah.
The biggest thing that people lose sight of and not realize is that when God said he searched to and fro, trying to search in man's heart,
Mhm.
he didn't care nothing about what was in your thoughts. He wanted to see what was in your
Come
heart.
on. What
Because,
attached itself to you.
right, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, what you operate out of, man, is there
Mhm.
real love there? Is there
Yeah.
real compassion? Is that authenticity? Is that there?
Yeah.
Or is it a facade? I'm searching your heart.
Yeah.
You could play and pretend. You can play mind games with everybody.
And that's the point. People think that they smarter than God sometimes. It's crazy. But you know what? Also, too, that works both ways because when you are in a position to like, let's go, like we're talking about when you were going through, I was going through that pruning process, right? I used to self-sabotage myself, right? Because of, God telling me to do certain things. And when it came down to like constructive criticism, like, oh my goodness, I would take it as like you directly trying to
Yeah.
target me, not
Yeah.
realizing this is a moment for growth,
Right.
right?
Right.
This is a moment for growth. So it took me a minute to get to the point where I can deal with like constructive criticism because I always like connected it to my past when I was being bullied. So
Right.
I
Wow.
used to, yeah, and I used to be bullied, not physically. Nobody ever physically bullied me
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
used to
But
talk
with
about me.
words.
Yeah, with
With
words. Yeah.
words. Yeah.
So I connected constructive criticism when I started working in corporate America from that. So I had to heal from that. So I would self-sabotage myself and, like, oh, I can't work for this company no more. They picking on me.
Right.
When really
Right.
it was they're trying to help you grow
Grow.
because they're
Right.
identifying certain things in you, right?
Right.
And so I
Right.
think that kind of shifts when you finally learn that lesson and then you start dealing with
Oh, yeah.
people who are on the
Yes.
flip side of that.
Yes.
And then you have the ability now to say, okay, this is a moment where, okay, this is pulling me, but because you have went through what you went through that pruning process and now
Mhm.
you're stronger, you could step back.
Yeah.
And when you step back and allow God to fight that
Let 'em work.
battle, that's when you start to see how 10,000 may fall at your right and 10,000 may fall at your left, but it
Say
shall not
none
come
come near
near
you.
you,
That's right.
right? But also it builds your capacity.
Yeah.
Now you growing because you're not operating from fear. Like you see people targeting you and pointing the finger at
Yeah.
you and trying to knock you off your
Yeah.
square,
Yeah.
but you recognize it and God says, vengeance is mine, said the
Right.
Lord. So you just step back
Right.
and you see God
Right.
step in
Right.
and do exactly what he said he was going to do because his word will not return unto him void, right?
Right.
Like that's why I say the Bible will make manifest in your life.
Yes.
The word of God will make manifest in your life when you really believe it
Yes.
to be
Right.
that.
Right.
So I totally
It's a
understand.
living word.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about. So I'm going to move on to our last question,
Uh-oh.
which is a great question that I really see people, when I ask this question, it makes you really think.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to dig deep and
Okay.
give the listeners something today.
I
Okay.
got you. I got
Okay.
you.
So what is one lesson you wish you've learned earlier?
One lesson I wish I learned earlier was self-value.
Self-value.
I didn't value self enough earlier because there was no. Now I believe, like I look at people and I fight to give you so you can live, right? Before I didn't care about like if you lived or not, like because I didn't care enough about self, right? And not that I didn't care whether I live or not. I didn't fear like that, right? I don't fear that now, but what I fear that I have a whole bunch of more work to do, and I don't know how much more time, right? We always the unknown, right? So what? That's the one thing, man, for me, like self value, understanding how valuable you are, no matter what they say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No matter what this race say, that race say, people get caught up in that. And oh yeah, is that racism? Yeah, we understand that's racism. That's just people in their ignorance
Right.
of a lack of understanding value again in others,
Exactly.
right? But finding self-value, understanding how important it is for you to be a piece on the board,
Ooh,
right?
come on.
You could, I don't pawn, you're a pawn, oh, you're a bishop, you're a rook. You're an important piece on that board, no matter if you're a pawn, rook, bishop, or knight. You know what I mean? You're an important piece. Everybody strives to be the king. Everybody strives to be the chief.
Yes, come on. That's
Right?
it.
Now, being an Indian don't mean you're a follower, but you have a position and a role to play. Right? But understanding how valuable your position is and your role, I ain't got time to focus on what he doing at the job. I'm doing my job. I love my job. I ain't got time to gossip about him at lunch. I'm trying to eat, man. I'm trying to get ready to go back and do these other 4 hours or 3 hours, whatever I got left, right? I don't have time for that because I'm focused on me,
That's
right?
so good.
Keeping the value in me makes me valuable to people. right? That's the
Mhm.
blessing, the outpour that when people near you, they be blessed because of the value you have inside yourself. You're able to give that to others. You're able to give that to kids. You're able to give that to other people that's going through it, right? I had a lady walk up to me at my job and say, "I've been watching." I didn't know she was watching me for 3 years. It kind of had me stunned, like, "You watching me like that?" But it was a good watch. She was like,
Uh-huh.
"I watch you for 3 years do the same thing every morning, greet these kids since my kid been here, and you say inspiring words to them. Listen, I just want to tell you thank you for what you do. Thank." And it caught me off guard because I never talk about what I do.
Mhm.
Look for stripes or admiration from other people. Like I said, I don't care what other people think of me.
Mhm.
So it caught me off guard because again, you never know who's watching. You know what I mean? And I don't do it because you watch it. I do it because sometimes those kids are going through something in their household and they didn't hear a good word when they left.
Mhm.
So they left with a bad spirit,
Yeah.
right? Paul planted, Apollos water, God gonna get that increase. I'ma
Mhm.
just do my part,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes people watching us, man, and we don't know. And sometimes we're motivating people to be better people
Mhm.
because they know who we used to be.
Yeah,
And they were like, if you could change, I could change,
for sure.
right?
Yeah.
So,
The story is, man, like when I even just think about my own personal story, the story of the things that you have to overcome to become better is it's mind blowing when you that's why I just want to learn more and more about other people because it's so humbling
yeah,
to hear other people's stories and to see their strength. But I definitely agree with you, like as far as like self-value and self-worth, like I literally came up into that probably about a couple of years ago, right? Because of sometimes the Bible says, "Don't cast your pearls amongst swine," right?
right,
And so sometimes when you have a gift and you have something and you're casting it around people that know you from back
mm,
when, or people who grew
mhm,
up with you, or people that you think are supposed to love you, it makes you diminish yourself and make you not recognize your value and
right,
your worth,
right,
right? And so it literally took me to get to a point where it came down to my foundation being tested.
right,
Like, is Jesus really
mhm,
real? Is
mhm,
God really real?
right,
And
right,
that's how I knew,
right,
like, oh, if you could take everything away from me,
right,
but you're not gonna take that away from me.
right,
That's what was there for me when I had nothing.
right,
And so from there, that moment, that's when I realized, oh, you have something
right,
that the enemy wants.
right,
And this is the reason why people are the way that they are. So when I took that and start to understand my value and my own worth,
right,
that's when things begin to
right,
change.
right.
That's when things begin to change. It
Yeah.
really did. But
Yeah,
people try to make you feel like you're so common.
right,
Like, because when you talk to people, and this is why in the beginning of
right.
this episode I said you have to have that point of reference.
Oh, yeah.
Because what I used to
Oh, yeah.
come up against all the time is like I'm having a conversation with somebody, they will just try to minimize it so much as if it's not as important
Right.
and as if they understand what I'm
Right.
saying. But they never could give me no
Yeah,
examples. You
yeah,
could never give me no point of reference.
yeah,
So I thought a little bit, am I crazy?
yeah.
Until I start valuing myself and now I'm meeting
Right,
people like you
right.
who you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Meeting
think like
like-minded
yeah,
people who actually have been through the process.
yeah,
And that's when, I really want people to understand that anything that you do for God
yes,
will not go in vain. That
yeah,
pruning process, that isolation period is sometimes it take years.
yeah,
It take years.
yes,
But nothing you do for him will ever go in vain.
yeah,
So you will reap if you
yeah,
faint not.
right,
And I'm a true witness of that.
yeah,
So I definitely
yeah.
commend you, Coach Do, for coming
Thank you,
on
appreciate it.
the podcast. This
Oh,
was
yeah,
such an inspiring, uplifting episode.
definitely.
I really believe people are going to be hopefully saved
Right,
and
right,
edified
right.
through this episode because you definitely was dropping some gems and
Appreciate you having
you
me on.
really you inspired me today. So I just thank you. Any last words?
Well, I just want to say I always like to leave a motivational thing out there for people that's listening, wherever you are, man. Just understand that greatness exists inside you. You
Exactly.
don't need someone to make you great. I look at coaches and guys and people think that, oh, I'm gonna make a kid great. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. But in reality, like that greatness exists inside you. And you
Yes.
have to find out that greatness. Now, your talent to being inside your purpose may differ from others,
Yes.
but your greatness is inside you, man. You know, your
Exactly.
purpose is the same as everyone else. But your
Exactly.
talent may be different.
All right, tell the people where to find you, your social
Hey man, you can
medias.
find me on all platforms on Delete That Podcast, Delete That DAT, not THAT. Found out they had an imposter out there, started trying to copyright my stuff. But yeah, you can find me on Delete That Podcast, man. I'm always out there, man. Food business, 7 Flavors of NOLA. You know, you can come get you some good eating. You look that up. I'm telling you, these reviews are crazy. You know what I mean? And Coach Do for the kids. I'm on all platforms, man. So
Awesome. Thanks, Coach Do. So
yeah.
thank you guys for tuning in to the Uncommonly Peculiar podcast, the number one space cultivating truth, love, and transparency with your girl, a voice and an influence. Until next time, I want you to stay in peace and not in pieces here. Peace.
Peace.